the brand new Hunger Games movie, which is called The Hunger Games Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Long title. Long title. I have so many thoughts about this movie because, and I'm going to say straight up, I never liked Hunger Games. I believe I've talked about it on this podcast before. Never enjoyed it. Never thought it was that cool. I think I've seen 3 of the 4 movies. I've not read any of the books. I thought the concept was okay. Like, I actually think the concept's interesting. I never thought the movies were bad. I personally I found Jennifer Lawrence really annoying. I don't know why. I just never really enjoyed her in those movies. But this new movie is a prequel to the original Hunger Games, and it is based on a book that the original author wrote, right? That came out during COVID. Now, I have so many thoughts on this, I don't even really know where to start. Because, first of all, I quite liked the movie. I thought it was a bit too long, and there's been a lot of talk on this podcast about very long, excessively long movies. It was about 2.5 hours. Personally, I thought it could have ended nicely at about an hour and a half or an hour 45 in. There was a perfect spot for this movie to end, right in the middle without spoilers, and they didn't end it. I assume because the book doesn't end there, but as a film, I think it would have been great to end there. I thought it was really interesting. And what I've realized about me, you've probably realized it as well if you listen to my show, is that I think I'm just a really impressionable person. Because every time I see something, anything, I just have to know as much about it as possible. So now I'm obsessed with the Hunger Games. I want to read all the books. I downloaded all the audio books. Like, I'm just obsessed with it. And it usually lasts about a week. What I've realized, maybe because I do this podcast, I watch something, I listen to something, I do like anything, and then I'm like, I have to know as much about this as possible. And then for the next week, that's all I can think of. And then I just slowly like get over it. I just do not care anymore. So maybe the Hunger Games is that. But I actually found, I think from like a philosophical standpoint, like the Hunger Games is really interesting. And I think they explore it a bit in this movie, again, which is the prequel, where like it's all about it's set in this post-dystopian future. There's the capital and then there's the districts, and the districts would rebel against the capital. So the capital goes, okay, to stop all this, we are going to do the Hunger Games, where every year, a bunch of young people have to fight to the death as a reminder of why the districts shouldn't rebel or whatever it is. And I think it is actually some really interesting commentary on like control, government, power, authority, dystopia, future, like all of this stuff. It's quite interesting. I think overall, my thoughts on this Hunger Games movie is, and I've seen this trend, I've seen this happening again and again, where I don't actually think that people care about movies as much anymore. And I think that the Marvel universe and all of this shit has ruined movies for people. This is my theory, right? This isn't a joke. I think that I remember being a kid and you'd just go, like your parents would take you to the movies and you'd just see random movies that were not connected in any way to any existing thing. Let's go see Daddy Daycare with Eddie Murphy. Let's go see Bruce Almighty. Like all these random movies that I feel like don't happen as much anymore. Like now, as we've talked about, everything is in a universe or it's a recreation of an existing film, TV show, book. Everything is an adaptation, right? And I think actual just movies don't really make as much money. They're not as sustainable. A lot of them just get shipped straight to streaming because they won't be profitable in cinemas. I think a lot of people have just lost interest in movies because of all this stuff, because like it's all so big and expansive, and then you just feel I feel exhausted even thinking about something like the Marvel universe, because I'm just like, why? I just feel exhausted thinking about seeing it. And I think the average person's like, I just don't know. I don't care. I'm just going to watch TV at home. And no one goes to movies. And I think this Hunger Games movie, I'm like, who asked for this? I feel like, now, I don't think this next thing I'm going to say is actually a bad thing. I think it can be a good thing, which is, I think movies are becoming more about making content for groups of fans and distributing them like direct to fans of a certain thing, of a certain franchise, than reaching a global audience. Like, I think that this Hunger Games movie may as well just be for Hunger Games fans, because I don't think like the average person is like, oh, Hunger Games, oh, I remember that from 10 years ago. I'll go see this new one. Nah, I think it's just Hunger Games fans. And the reason there's so many like Star Wars ones is because Star Wars has heaps of fans. Whereas now I think people don't value movies or going to the cinema anymore. They see it as like, they just see it as content, as more content for them to consume. So I think a lot of people are just like, I feel like I'm not describing this as adequately as I should. I just feel like with this Hunger Games movie, all the fans of Hunger Games are like, yes, another thing for us, for Hunger Games fans. But everyone else is like, I don't care about this at all. And then you see all this stuff coming out and you're like, I don't care. But then there's a group of fans of a thing that do care. And now we're moving away from like mass targeted kind of movies, TV shows, whatever. And now it's just like niche stuff for groups of people where you know there's an invested group of people that can make money. That's what I think.